Hi, this is Pat McDonald, your host for Vote for Vermont, where our tagline is listening beyond the soundbites. Joining me today is John Lynch, who's a Republican, a candidate for the House of Representatives for Chittenden 9-2, which is Mallett's Bay. Beautiful area. Welcome to the show.
Right. Colchester 9-2, and it's there's two districts in Colchester, 9-1, 9-2, and I'm running for the Bay. That's right.
And Senator Mazza's the...
Well, he's the Grand Alcalde.
He's the Grand, yeah. Oh, right, that's right. So anyway, could you introduce yourself to our viewers and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. My name's John Lynch. I've lived in Colchester now for 18 years. I live with my wife and two sons, 22 years old and 5 years old.
Isn't that... Oh, really?
Yes.
I don't even want to know.
It's a lot of fun. It's great. It's really fantastic.
That's great.
I've been a software engineer now for 30 years. And I wasn't born in Vermont. I was born in England, actually. But I've been in the U.S. now for 26 years.
Great.
And I really consider Vermont my home. We've tried to leave a couple times, but it keeps sort of dragging us back.
Right, doesn't it? Yeah.
It does. So about the only office I can't run for is president, which I won't be doing.
That's right. You were born outside the U.S.
Right. But, I figured... maybe now is the time. I've got some ideas, and I think, I've seen so many of my friends leave Vermont, not because they want to leave, but because they're sort of forced to with the increasing cost of living. And I thought I would like to try to run for office.
It's such a huge issue, the cost of living here.
Yeah,
it is. But there is something that pulls us. My husband and I were looking to move to Maine, and we looked around, and we gave it up because we're here. So what are your key priorities? Obviously, one of them is the cost of living here. What other things are you interested in getting done?
Yeah, well, I try to talk to voters about what interests them and what concerns them. Yeah. But really the three pillars of my platform are the economy, our schools, and our opioids crisis. And the mental health problems that go along with that.
Right.
I think it's pretty clear now to most that we can't tax our way out of our economic problems here in Vermont, and nor can we sort of frugal our way out of them. I hear a lot of sort of plans to try to reduce our costs, which are important, but I think I see that as sort of a much smaller part of it. We really need to grow dramatically.
Right.
We have a demographic crisis in Vermont that I hear people talking about, but I don't see any plans for. We have the second oldest state in the union.
Right.
And we lose 40% of our college graduates within the first year, not because they want to leave, but because they can't find jobs here. It's very sad.
That right? I never heard that statistic. That's interesting, because I'm always pushing, why don't we talk to the college kids? Because they come from out of state, and they picked Vermont for a reason, so they must like it. They'd like to stay here.
They love it, and they would love to stay, but there's this disconnect between the colleges right now and the businesses.
Right.
And so it's a very tragic situation. You have graduates that want to stay here, but they can't find work. And now we have business owners that they're telling us that they can't find the graduates, or they can't find the high
It would be interesting to talk to them to see what their field of study is, and what kind of jobs they would like. And then maybe that's the focus for our economic development people, to get those businesses to come here, because we've got workers for them right out of UVM or Castleton or wherever.
Yeah, and that disconnect really needs to be addressed. And I have a plan to bring 10,000 new jobs to Vermont within 4 years.
Whoa.
And I'm talking to, we've been out on the campaign trail this week. We walked 81 miles around Colchester.
Bless
we visited 2,100 doors, I think.
That's the way to do it.
Yep, and I'm the body is weak, but the spirit is.
But people were glad you were there, weren't they?
Yes.
Because I miss it. I didn't have anybody come this year, and I'm like, hey, that's part of the deal. And I know it's COVID, but.
I was really I was worried, to be honest, about going around door to door initially, and I haven't had a single complaint.
Really?
I haven't had anybody say, what are you doing? It's COVID season.
Right.
How dare you?
No, but that is a concern. But I think if you're there with a mask and step back and show some respect for
it's easy to maintain the distance. I carry a mask wherever I go, just to show that if they want me to wear one, I can wear one.
Right. that's good because people. I think now that it's even getting worse that maybe they'll be paying even more attention.
Yeah.
So I don't know. You said you've been up in the legislature. What's brought you up there?
So I haven't been to I haven't been.
Oh,
to the
not to legislature.
before, right.
Oh, where did you say you met me somewhere?
I think we met at the State House
Oh,
at one of John Clark's events.
Oh, okay,
over
a
the summer.
political event.
Yeah.
Well, I just realized I missed a big opportunity because you said you had a plan to
Yes.
to bring in folks. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so
Shame on me.
it's sort of clear to me that our we all sort of want the same things in Vermont. You know, we want great roads, we want world-class schools, we want all the things, great parks and
Right.
rec facilities and social programs, but nobody seems to be talking about what ultimately funds all those things. And of course, we have a large state government that provides a lot of services, and just simply cutting that, I don't think is going to do it. So we really need to be more business friendly. We need to help small businesses grow to be mid-sized and large businesses, and we also need an immediate large influx of jobs in Vermont, and I think we can do that from the tech sector.
Oh, bless you. Yeah, I agree with you 100%.
And they're well-paid. I worked in tech for 30 years now, and I know that these companies, and I tell people, you know, the Facebooks, the Apple, Amazon, Netflix, Google, Microsoft, they all want to put campuses right here in New England. But we got to get on the phone to them, and we got to talk to them, and we got to cut them a deal, frankly. You know, we have to give them tax breaks and incentives to come here. And in return, they'll bring thousands of employees, thousands of jobs, who will all give back to the community. They'll all buy food, they'll all use their vehicles and so forth.
I worked in state government for 20 years or so, and I'm very supportive of tech ed. And I hear from the businesses that they want people that have that background. They're not so crazy about the college degree. That's not what they need to do their work. And I just think if we could promote that, we'd have less dropouts because we're giving kids the hands-on, keep them busy sort of thing. And I think it would really entice people because we don't give, this is something you have to change, we don't give Economic Development Department, Commerce and Community Development, we don't give them authority, like you just said, tax cuts, incentives and stuff. They have to go out ready to make a deal, shake hands, and that's it, it's done. But we ask them to come back and talk to the legislature, and it just gets so confusing. I think they should have authority to do X, Y, Z, give them the Pandora's box and let them do their thing, and they'll come back with the jobs.
Yeah,
and I know people get upset with incentives, but you're not going to get them here any other way.
Right, and I would agree. We got to streamline that process, and we got to remember too that bringing in jobs, even if we have to give a significant tax incentive to the company, helps so many other areas.
Yep.
I mean, you're talking, we could start to connect our state college system, which of course is in trouble right now.
I have lost track of what's going on. I wish they would say something.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't sound good.
Well, we certainly can't close them down. They're the lifeblood of many Vermont communities. We just need to really connect them with what the businesses are looking for.
I've always thought, I don't know if you know the SUNY New York system, that in SUNY Plattsburgh specializes in technology or something. This one specializes in the arts and theater, this one. And I think that's what we should do here, is we should have Castleton does accounting and finance, and just have them focus on specialties. And I think instead of competing with each other, that they could break out into their own little specialties, and I think that would attract people. Yeah,
and focus on having world-class centers of excellence in those specific fields. I mean, let's also remember, I think there's not enough focus on the trades right now as well. I mean, try finding a carpenter to work on your home, or or a plumber or something like that.
I think now you come from England. I used to go travel to Switzerland all the time, and the tech centers over there, businesses would be on their board of directors, and they would give beaucoup bucks to the tech center. And I would go fly over there, hire some tech center graduates, and bring them back to the United States. You would think I was bringing back people from Harvard and Yale, our world class, because the Swiss knew the value of the tech center students, and there's an idea here that people look at tech center and they think that's where you send the kids who can't make it in school, and that's not it at all.
No, not at all. No, they're ready to go, which
yeah.
is exactly what businesses want.
Yeah, and I think you said that before. They have 2 years, less debt,
Yep.
and you come out with making serious dollars in some of these things, $60,000 and
Yeah, and if you bring the big tech employers right here,
right,
they'll
that's
really
great.
be connected.
Yeah.
And you'll give kids new hope. You know, kids that are in high school now that, and this is where a lot of our social problems, I think, come from too. When kids go through school and they sort of feel like a sense of no hope anymore, and it's so hard to get your foot on the rung of the ladder anymore. And so many kids are feeling like they just don't stand a chance of making it.
Yeah, I know.
It's sad.
Well, you mentioned mental health and the opioid crisis. That is just so huge here, and because of COVID, we haven't heard much. But I think it's probably not doing well. I mean, it's everywhere in this state.
Yeah, we've seen a 45 or 50% uptick, unfortunately, in the overdose rate.
Great.
I spoke with, in my travels over the last week, I've spoken with 3 police officers. 2 from Colchester and 1 from Burlington, and I asked them all, what percentage of your call-outs are associated either with alcohol, drugs, or mental health issues? And the answers ranged from 75% to 97%.
Oh my word.
The Burlington police officer I spoke to said that a full 97% of his call-outs had one of those as the proximate cause.
That's because the officers are almost being asked to work like social workers.
Exactly.
And they don't have the background to do that. That's not what they're taught at the academy. I know the former chief of police here in Montpelier used to come on the show all the time, and he talked about this Team 2 where they would work together with mental health experts and 4 or 5 different subjects where they would alcoholism and drug abuse, so that when they got to a scene that was violent, they had these people there that they worked together and they understood how to deal with the situation. Because how do the law enforcement people know?
Yeah, I think the job of the law enforcement officer is harder than it's ever been.
Right.
And you know, calls to defund, I just don't understand.
I don't either. I think these kids just don't get it.
Yeah.
I mean, who are you gonna call?
Right.
Not Ghostbusters. You need the police. And 90% of them, 98% of them are good, hardworking, dedicated law enforcement officers who are proud to do the job.
They are.
And to hear those kids screaming at their face must just be, I give them credit for just maintaining their poise, because I'm not sure how well I do.
I mean, and of course, with the changing dynamic of society, with more mental health issues, more alcoholism, more drug issues, their job has become only more complicated.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you in a society where obviously guns are legal, and of course they should be, but in the hands of someone who has a mental health problem or is drunk or under a serious drug addiction, then they have a really tough job to do.
And you can't judge a person coming at you with a knife if they have any one of the mental health drug. I mean, unless they're really overt about it, but a lot of them are not. So you just figure you're dealing with not such a normal guy because he's got a knife, but you don't know what their issues are until sometimes it's too late, and that's really bad too. So you have very good priorities, and I bet people are agreeing with you on that.
They are.
Yeah, I bet, because they know. Yeah. So one of the questions I've been asking people is that this year's budget was pretty hard, but we managed to balance it. Next year, however, we'll really feel the impact of COVID expenses and lack of revenue. So I liked your idea about bringing in revenue, and that's a good solution. I don't know if you thought of anything else for the budget, because I made a list the other day of the issues that this state is facing, and I don't know how you're going to make priorities.
Yeah, I'm less concerned about COVID short-term issues of COVID than I am the long-term issues. If you look at the net effect of COVID, what we've seen is a huge transfer of wealth and opportunity from small businesses in Vermont to the huge mega corporations, right? The Amazons,
the Walmarts,
the Facebooks, the Googles. who are all able to work online.
Yeah.
And they've taken a lot of the business that unfortunately
Right.
Vermont small businesses used to have. That's a problem that is not just going to go away.
No.
Unfortunately, thousands of Vermont businesses will never reopen their doors.
Have you
to the
heard
COVID.
of some that are not opening? We've had some here that I know
Oh,
of.
sure. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
there's been the ones in the news, right? The dairies and so
right,
forth.
right.
But yeah, there's been businesses in Colchester that will never reopen, and it's terribly sad. I just think we need to sort of rethink the economy and rethink how we can make it easier for businesses to
Right.
not only start but grow,
Right.
and also bring those bigger businesses.
I must say,
into
my
Vermont.
husband and I feel almost obligated when a restaurant opens back up to go, because
Yes.
I mean, like, I want them
I
to
miss
be,
it.
I want them to be there, and so when we
Yeah.
go, we give the waitresses an extra than we would have normally, because they've been out of work for so long,
Yeah.
and that's very hard, and
And actually, probably the number one issue I've heard from people that I've spoke to, and I recognize this might be sort of a sample bias because I've sort
Right.
of I've been there during the day.
Right.
But the biggest sort of COVID-related issue is the daycare issue.
oh, yes, right,
People, they're finally able to get back to work
right,
if they have daycare.
right,
So, and unfortunately, either they can't find daycare or their kid has a 1 degree elevated temperature
Right,
or the sniffles or something, and they're sent home. So it just, their life is in chaos
right.
because of that.
Well, I was thinking, because I'm retired and I just do the show and I'm home a lot. I volunteer for some nonprofits, but I was thinking maybe I could offer to take a child in. But I was thinking there must be background checks. I just can't offer to take a child in because I need to. I mean, I've been a grandmother and a mother, but I don't know if that's experience enough. Because I
Well, it
know
should
some
be.
people that are just. Yeah, it should be.
I think it used to be, actually.
Yeah,
I was speaking with someone the other day that said they felt that the system of childcare in Vermont used to be really, really great.
Right.
And
It's so regulated now.
it's so regulated
Yeah.
now that it's become more. I don't want to denigrate any of the childcare providers because they're all awesome.
Right.
But when you regulate it to the point that it has been regulated, you tend to get a different kind of
Right.
business
Well, you eliminate
provider.
people who might have the passion for it.
Exactly.
Because you were talking about the age. I have 4 grandchildren. 2 are in their early 20s, and the other 2 are on the way on the other side, 7 and 9. And so
Wow.
it's like going to your house. How do you deal with the older one with the younger one? And it's
But you
very
have
interesting.
grandkids in their 20s?
Oh, yes, and then I have grandkids, 26 and 23. And the little ones down in Maryland are, they're older now. They're about 7 and 9 or 8 and 6, I forget. But anyway, so cute. Keeps you young, that's the thing. Don't worry, John, it'll be a good thing. So I was talking a little bit about the Global Warming Solutions Act. I don't know if you've paid attention to that. The governor vetoed it, and then, of course, the legislature turned around and didn't sustain the veto.
Yeah, I have paid some attention to it. I think the governor did the right thing with the veto. It was really all he could do, and he gave some good advice on that. As the governor said, the bill really sort of represents an abrogation of legislative authority.
Right.
And it
to
really
that,
sort
to
of
the committee.
exactly
Oh my
to
God.
the Climate Council.
Right.
And it also takes the governor out of it. So, I mean, the big problem there is that you imagine a scenario in, say, 2030, where the Climate Council decides to, say, ban a certain size of engine on a car.
Right. Right.
As a Vermonter who might want to purchase a certain car like that, where would I go?
Right.
I can't do anything. My representative can't do anything. My senator can't do anything. And my governor can't do anything.
And yet they thought this was fine.
So I'm in a situation where even if I agreed with the premise of the bill, I wouldn't agree with the bill because I think it goes about it the wrong way.
Well, I think, first of all, if we did absolutely everything we could in Vermont, we wouldn't change that worldwide needle 1 ounce.
Right.
So why don't we fix our economy first? Let us have some money in our pockets, and then if you want to do things that are going to cost us money on global warming, well, then let's do it. But I don't think it's necessary to do it now. And this council just makes me crazy because they had a 5-member council for Vermont Yankee, and the legislature went nuts about it. You're doing the same thing, only triple the amount, because they have, what,
24?
Yeah, something ridiculous. And unappointed, appointed, not elected.
But unaccountable. Of course.
Yes,
Unaccountable.
exactly. Oh, well, that's all right. And in the bill, they don't even mandate what requirements these people, what background they have to have, what skills or knowledge.
Right.
And we're taking bets, some of us, on the usual suspects to see who gets on the committee. So, not being too understanding or anything. So, you talked about the economy, and the governor said a couple of weeks ago in one of his press conferences, which I've got to give him kudos for. He's really been keeping everybody informed. That the economy is not coming back as quickly as it can, and even what you're discussing is not going to happen next year. It's going to take a lot of planning and hard work.
Yeah.
So, what are some short-term things that you could suggest that would put us back in the ballgame, at least where we were? Never mind, better would be good too. But.
Yeah, well, it's important to acknowledge that even before COVID, the Vermont economy wasn't the greatest. It wasn't in the greatest shape. But what I'm hearing from people, like I said, the first problem people are facing right now that are trying to get back to work is daycare issues.
Right. Okay.
So I would like to see us relax the rules around daycares a little more. I would also like to see us relax the rules in school. I want to see our kids get back to more of a normal.
Right.
They're in, some schools are back. I think all schools are back, but
yeah,
some
but they're
schools
doing half and half.
They're doing hybrids,
yeah.
and you know, for the most part, most kids are only going, I think, maybe 3 days a week, and of course they're required to wear masks and that kind of thing. I want to see some normalcy there. You know, when COVID came around in February, I think we started seeing it here in February in Vermont. It was scary. It was really scary because nobody knew what it was all about.
Right.
And I was scared.
Right.
You know, I was worried that I was going to get it and my family were going to get it, and so we were taking all the precautions we could, and we still take precautions, but we know so much more about it now, and we flattened the curve. And we haven't had a death in, I think, 65
Yeah, we've done very well.
Now.
We're one of the best states. Everybody points to us.
Yeah.
But we still have to come back.
We
and,
do.
Get these people working.
I'd kind of like to see us transition more into a mode of take care of the truly vulnerable.
Right.
Most of our deaths in Vermont have been in nursing homes.
Right.
And so that we know our elderly population is by far the most at risk, and those that are also have comorbidity factors like respiratory issues.
Right.
So I'd like to see us sort of take care of those folks more and try to get Vermont more back to work more quickly.
Well, I like the idea about lightening up on that, because I would really take in a child or two. My husband might leave, but I seriously would, because I think I would feel like I'm helping, and I'm not out of my house. They're coming to me and
put you to work.
Put me to work.
Yeah.
I'd be good. And I would pass the background check in case anybody's worried. We have something. I work in partnership with Campaign for Vermont, which is a think tank sort of group, and we're very supportive of ethics. And this state, for years, was one of 2 states in the United States that had no ethics legislation.
Really?
So they finally, after a lot of work on our part, letters and calls and blah, 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 they put together an ethics commission. The gentleman that's leading it is just perfect for the job. He's an attorney and just really knows what he's doing. He submitted a recommendation to the legislature for 10 things that should be in any kind of ethics bill with some teeth. Ours has no teeth, no nothing. It's just this committee. So I'm just curious what you think about having ethics and having some clout to it.
Well, I'm all in favor of ethics.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
And morals, of course. It's about how we enforce them, I suppose, is the big thing.
Yes, that's the problem.
And I'm all in favor of a commission. I think what we have to remember is, even though we're a small state, and we like to think that the representatives and the senators that we elected, we like to think that we can trust them. The reality is they're humans, and they're fallible. I think it was James Madison in Federalist 51 reminded us that that men are not angels, and if government
That's
were,
right, I remember reading it. Right.
if government were, if men were governed by angels, they wouldn't need to be restrained. But given that men, I'm butchering this.
Yes, right. No, well, we got the idea.
Yeah, but given that men are governed by men,
Right.
The first responsibility should be to restrain themselves.
Yeah.
And maybe that's what we need to look at doing. So I'm all in favor of a
That's
commission.
Yeah, because there's people that have worked for companies that our bills are being passed to help, and or they have stocks in certain companies,
Right.
and you don't. Those are things you don't know. It's not that obvious. So we've had one or two people over the years who have stood up and said, I have to recuse myself because of X, Y, Z.
Jim Condos?
Yes, Jim Condos. I say that in almost every. I have to tell him that because he's going to have to owe me, but but it's true. I mean, he and this gentleman from way back when, Jim Greenwood, who was a senator, he would stand up too. They both worked in the power energy field, and they both. I guess their companies must have been very aware of conflict of interest.
Well,
and,
very good.
you know.
And it's really about trust, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because we're living in days when most people, frankly, don't trust their government anymore.
No.
With things going on at the national
Right.
scene. And so it's about rebuilding trust.
Yeah.
I've visited so many people in last week, and a lot of people have told me, unfortunately, I'd vote for you, but I don't vote anymore because it never makes a difference.
Is that right?
It's
That's
true,
sad.
and it is sad
But
to hear that.
this year with the mail-in votes, maybe
Yeah.
they'll be encouraged when they
Maybe.
see it in their house.
I hope so.
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
So, do you want to tell folks why we should vote for you and why you'd make a great candidate?
I suppose my final plea to Colchester residents would be I never thought I would run for office, but I feel compelled to right now. I really want to help with our affordability crisis in Vermont and in Colchester. I feel we can no longer tax our way out of our problems, and we need to start growing our economy. So I'd love to have your vote November 3rd. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure. Very
you, Pat.
nice. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next week, and in the meantime, keep listening beyond the sound bites.